Hello everyone, welcome live to 3Wide TV, tonight's broadcast of the iRacing South Sound Speedway eRacing series brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. We're here at the Oxford Plains Speedway. We got street stock action for you tonight. It will be 100 laps around this racetrack, and you see we are already in the qualifying session. And there is the number 84, Matt Hackathorn, out there turning in his qualifying laps and gets a little bit loose in turn number 1, and he goes flipping off the racetrack. What a way to start this broadcast. Hello, everyone. I'm Peter Short. Joining me in the booth here tonight is Nicholas Rees. And Nicholas, we've already seen some action here in the qualifying session. And I'll tell you what, I'm expecting to see a lot of this action on this racetrack here tonight. There's not really a straightaway here. You're turning left the entire time, and that leads to some accidents.
Oh yeah, for sure. And as I'm taking a look at some of these drivers already, as you said, just flipping through, flipping on the track, doing barrel rolls. It can be a tricky track to run, especially in these cars. I've actually was running these cars here at Oxford Plains Speedway, and if you go too wide, you're going to go way down the hill with the negative banking here at Oxford Plains.
It's a very interesting racetrack, and I know we saw these street stocks in action in the iRacing South Sound eRacing series brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer a couple weeks back at USA International. A lot of the drivers struggling to get the power down on these race cars to get them to grip up off the corner. I'm expecting to see that here again tonight, but this is a racetrack where you've got to roll your speed through the center of the corner because of the fact that you're turning pretty much the entire way around this racetrack. Your entry, your middle, and your exit are very, very important, not only to save tires, but just to be fast in general. Here we go on board. This is Matthew Desnoski in the 02 machine. He works his way now into turn number 1. You see him kind of wash up a little bit there, but that's a strategy here at this racetrack. You get a lot of drivers try and diamond these corners, try and get the car woed up right in the center of the corner and go right back down for the apex up off the corner. You saw Desnoski do it there. He's currently sitting in the 10th position here in the qualifying session. We got about 2 minutes left, and up at the top, Nicholas, TJ Hartman trying to go for 3 wins in a row here tonight at Oxford Plains.
Yeah, as you mentioned, TJ Hartman, currently the fastest car out on the track, looking to make it 3 in a row here on the iRacing South Sound Speedway eRacing series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computers. Trying to make it 3 in a row. We saw him win last week and, of course, the week before. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what he can do. He knows that he's a very fast driver, obviously. He's getting all these great practice and qualifying times. So it's going to be pretty interesting, as he actually was second fastest in practice as well.
Yeah, and you're watching the man who was the fastest in the practice session. That's Bart Hector Jr. in the number 82 machine. He is currently sitting 3rd on the board behind TJ Hartman and Ken Garber in the number 96 machine. We'll see if he can pick it up on lap number 2. He goes way wide. That is usually not the fast line, but look at that, folks. Top of the charts for Bart Hector Jr. in that number 82 machine. Now, I know someone in the chat is going to be very excited about that. Aunt Kathy in the chat. How's it going, Aunt Kathy? Hope you're having a good evening, especially with Bart Hector Jr. jumping to top of the board. And we want to give a happy birthday to one of our own here at 3Wide TV, Greg Rentz. It's his birthday, and Greg raced with these drivers last week, and I'm not 100% sure whether or not, I believe he is in this field, BJ Tidrick in that number 13 machine, currently sitting down there in 18th. So BJ Tidrick will be the name, but is actually Greg Rentz limelighting in that number 13 machine. So we'll have to keep an eye out for the birthday boy. And here's the number 81 machine, Casey Tillman, running his way around the racetrack. There he is, going to bring that car to a crawl. And I believe that's just about it for qualifying here, Nicholas. And Bart Hector Jr., fantastic time. Pippin TJ Hartman by only 2/100ths of a second. Very, very close up at the top. That spells well for what will be a 100-lap race here at Oxford Plains Speedway. And we're about to grid them up for this race. Of course, this racetrack is a very short racetrack, only 3/8 of a mile in length. These laps will click off very, very quickly once we do go green. If this is the first time joining us on the South Sound Speedway eRacing series, we do have heat races if we do have enough drivers, and tonight we do have enough drivers to have a heat race. So great to see this. This will be the one heat race. 15 drivers made it into the feature race from qualifying. 5 drivers will make it into the race from this heat, and that will set their starting lineup. So let's see if we can go through this quick grid here. Sean Jones in the 00 will be starting from the pole on the inside of row number 1. The 43 of Andy Johnson got that Richard Petty-esque scheme right there in the number 43 machine. He'll be starting to his outside. Then in the 3rd position will be Greg Rentz in the number 13 machine. The car that was due to roll off in the 4th position is actually the race control car in the server here to manage the drivers, and then the car starting shotgun will be the number 29 machine of Kyle Matthews. So a 4-car heat here to set the last few positions. This will set 16th through 19th on the grid when we go green for the full race. And it will be, I believe, a 6-lap heat here, Nicholas. So you got to go pretty quick if you want to make up some positions.
Oh yeah, for sure. As you mentioned, a 6-lap heat race. And then they are, of course, going to get to the feature race, which, as you also mentioned, is 100 laps. So we're in for some good racing tonight, Peter. I'm ready to see some action going on in just a little bit.
And Kathy in the chat asking, is that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the number 13? You got it in, Kathy. That is some good old TMNT on that number 13 Trans Am. Pretty cool looking scheme there. Greg Rentz is driving. I heard that he was celebrating his birthday today, so hopefully he can get that TMNT car up there here before the end of this heat race. He's only got 6 laps to do it, but he will be starting on the inside of the 2nd row. We will have an extra pace lap here as the pace truck goes around this racetrack, and you can see all that runoff out there, folks. If you haven't ever raced on the iRacing simulator, grass is like ice. And if you get out there into that dirt and into that grass, it's very, very hard to get your car woed up and not go into some of the far out walls, especially if you're carrying the speeds around this racetrack. Very, very wide down the straightaways. And you can kind of see, looks like that's the number 29 machine back there trying to get caught back up. Kyle Matthews, as the pace truck lights are going to go off here. Car's headed down pit road. And we're already green flag, folks. And it is the 00 of Sean Jones will lead us down into turn number 1 here for this 6-lap heat. And you see him getting up on those white curbs. That's another thing you have to talk about here. And a side-by-side battle behind them between Greg Rentz and the number 29 of Kyle Matthews and Nicholas. Looks like the 00 Sean Jones trying to get out front and trying to use that track position to his advantage here.
Oh yeah, for sure. And now we're looking at the 43 of Andy Johnson, who's going to get right below him. Now we have a battle for the lead here. It's very side by side, very close here, but Andy Johnson is actually going to make the pass. New leader of Andy Johnson, and still the battle up front and behind. Of course, the battle behind with Greg Rentz and Kyle Matthews still going on right behind them. So we're going to take a look at both of these battles as they are now spreading out.
Yeah, the 00 of Sean Jones trying to get that lead back from the number 43. Only 3 more laps to do it. You can see that 00, he's trying to carry in a lot of speed on entry into the corner, but he washes up on exit. Number 43 of Andy Johnson really rolling that center as well as he can, get that drive up off the corner. Only 2 laps to go, and the 00 Sean Jones, he's going to go into the infield, and that is not what he wants to have happen. So Sean Jones, just like that, will go from 2nd back to 4th, move Kyle Matthews up into the 2nd position as we see this on the 3-wide TV replay. Because right now, Sean Jones in the 00 machine, just got too much in it. And Andy Johnson in the number 43 machine, he's going to come ahead and take the checkered flag in the heat race and go barrel rolling off into the grass there. That's one way to do a celebration, Nick.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was watching that as it happened. Was taking a look at Kyle Matthews, and right in front of him, I see Andy Johnson just take a nice left right into into a barrel roll motion. So one way to celebrate, like you said. And now these guys are going to be warming up for just about 5 minutes here, getting ready for the main feature race, which, as you mentioned, 100 laps.
Yeah, so very very quick heat there gets everyone back out onto the racetrack, reacclimatized to the track conditions. And if you notice something there in that transition from the heat race to this warm up, it's a little bit cloudier than it was in that heat race. So the track temperature is going to drop down just a little bit. There you have track temperature 95 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll have to keep an eye on that as this race goes on. But a little bit different track conditions, and that will definitely affect the way these cars drive. And it's good to have a little bit of warm up so you can get reacclimatized to the racetrack, feel it out, see how it's going to drive through the 100-lap race. See if you need to play around with your brake bias, your steering ratio, because those are really the only options that they have to mess around with these cars. It is a fixed setup here in the iRacing South Sound Speedway eRacing series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. And of course, got to give a shout out to 93rd Avenue Computer, bringing you these broadcasts here on 3 Wide TV. If you need some computer repairs and you're located in the northwest portion of the United States, well, 93rd Avenue Computer is located in Olympia, Washington. So I'm sure they'll be able to help you out with all of your computer repair needs. And if you have any questions, just let them know you heard about them from the South Sound Speedway eRacing series, because they're definitely a great partner to have on board. But you see a lot of these drivers going around. Ooh, a little bit tight there between the number 43 machine. Looks like Andy Johnson going for a spin around on the front stretch. And he's going to come to a halt. We'll see if he can gather it back up. Remember, your winner from the heat race that we just had, that number 43 machine. Good news is they had a backup car on the trailer, so even though that car went flipping there after the checkered flag in heat number 1, the only heat that we had, he's able to get it back out there onto the racetrack. I do believe we might be able to dial up the birthday boy, Mr. Greg Rentz. Greg, how's it going, buddy? Happy birthday. Peter Short up in the 3 Wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys. Thank you, Peter.
Well, TMNT on the hood, and a great-looking Trans Am running out there on the racetrack. It is a little bit cloudier than it was in the heat race. How's it driving?
It's better. The Turtles had a little too much pizza before qualifying there, and they were still kind of comatose before that qualifying lap. But it was good to get a clean heat race in. I'm honestly just trying to stay out of trouble in this one. That was a moving roadblock in the Roval race last week, so I'm trying to redeem myself here by trying to stay out of trouble and keep it clean for 100.
Well, maybe Splinter can give you some tips to get around this racetrack, because it is a pretty tricky racetrack. You're pretty much always turning. How important will it be to keep hold of your tires tonight?
It's going to be insanely important. This is a track that I typically have done okay at. I've got a couple legend wins here, but nothing in a street stock. But this track just grinds up the tires, and with it being a hot racing surface, at least in qualifying in that heat race, it's a little bit cooler right now. So we're thinking this is going to be how it is towards the end. So we're going to have to hang on to our tires and try to keep it easy for the first 30, 40 laps or so before we really start going for it.
All right, before we let you go, gotta give you a question. Who's your favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle?
Always Raph.
All right, you heard it right there. Greg Rent's birthday boy,
hey, Greg.
favorite TMNT
Hey, Greg.
is
Aunt
Raphael.
Kathy, hold on. Aunt Kathy wants to say hi.
Hi.
Well, there you heard it, folks. We'll let Mr. Rentz get back to it. Best of luck tonight. All right, well, Nicholas, should be an interesting show. You heard it. Track conditions a little bit different here, and Greg Rentz is actually feeling it.
Yeah, he said he was, and I was actually listening in just a little bit to the driver's voice chat, and I heard some of them saying that they were feeling some of it. So it's going to be interesting what we're going to see here as we're just finishing up this warm-up, just about 10 seconds to go until these drivers are going to be gridding for the 100-lap feature race here at Oxford Plains Speedway.
Yeah, very much looking forward to this race. Checkered flag has been thrown on this 5-minute warm-up session. There you see the flagman whipping around that checkered flag, and oh, there goes this Noski going around in the front stretch. Looks like everyone will get cleaned up, and we'll re-rack them here for this 100-lap race. And folks, all the stuff they just learned in warm-up with all the cloud cover, boom, it's gone just like that because the sun is back out here on the racetrack. We'll get some weather forecast for you here in just a second, but let's go through the starting lineup for this 100-lap feature race. Starting on the pole, the number 82 of Bart Hector Jr., and to his outside, winner of the last two races back at Phoenix and the Charlotte Roval, TJ Hartman, trying to do 3 in a row here tonight. On row number 2, in the number 96 machine, Kenneth Garber on the inside, and Dylan Huffines in the number 7 to his outside. Starting on row number 3, Chris Belanca, who won the first South Sound Speedway eRacing Series race back at Lanier. He will be starting on the inside. To his outside, the number 20 of Garrett Huffines. Starting from the 7th position, the number 6 of Carl Brandt in that number 6 machine, and the 84 of Matt Hackathorn to his outside. Starting on row number 5, the number 18 of Wade Cohens, and to his outside, the number 23 of Jeff Peterson.
Starting in 11th is going to be the number 81 of Casey Tillman, and to his outside is going to be the number 99 of Chris Torres. Starting in 13th position is going to be the number 2 of Matthew Dysnoski, and to his outside is going to be the number 14 of Eric Johnson Jr. Starting in 15th, the number 4 of Derek Presley, and in 16th, the number 43 of Andy Johnson, as always running that STP Richard Petty throwback. Starting in 17th is going to be the number 29 of Kyle Matthews, and to his outside in 18th is going to be the number 13 of Greg Rentz. And rounding out the 19-car field is going to be the 00 of Sean Jones.
Absolutely. So those will be the 19 cars that do battle here for 100 laps tonight. Let's see if we can bring up the weather conditions, because it will just show you how different it is from it was about 5 degrees warmer on the track temperature. The drivers will be able to feel that with all this sun out, but the green flag will be in the air here for Bart Hector Jr. He will take the lead here, going past the start-finish line, and he'll be the first man into turn number 1. But look at this gaggle of cars well back side by side. Dylan Huffines in the number 7 machine. He's kind of stuck out there on the high groove, and what we have seen here, Nicholas, at this racetrack in the past, you get on that high groove, very, very difficult to get down to the inside of the racetrack as the caution has come out. It is the number 4 machine, Derek Presley, who's gone around on the front stretch. Doesn't look like there's any damage on that race car. Let's see what happened here.
Yeah, we're going to be taking a look at this replay here. There's the number 4. Maybe he made a little contact with the 29 and just spun around.
Yeah, the 29 was in the rear, and I think he had to check up for the number 23 machine in front of him, Jeff Peterson, who was very, very close to this Noski, and the number 29 of Matthews might have given him a little bit of a nudge, and that number 4 machine goes around, brings out the first caution here at Oxford Plains. Luckily, these cautions are very, very short, so we'll see this from the air. There's that contact in front of the number 4 between the 23 and the 02. And I think the 04 was kind of reacting to that, thinking it might be a little bit bigger than it was. And Kyle Matthews just giving him a little bit of a nudge there to turn him right around. The good news, folks, looks like both of those cars receiving no damage, just a little bit of a 360. So hopefully no harm, no foul. Unfortunately, the number 4 machine will lose some track position and will be restarting in the 19th position. Derek Presley started this race in the 15th position, so -4 on the start. Chris Belanca, he was able to get around Dylan Huffines to take the 4th position back. I'm sure Huffines will be happy to be restarting on the inside from the 5th position after being freight trained on the inside groove on that brief green flag period. But I was just going to say, Nicholas, you know, that outside groove doesn't really come in at this racetrack. Very, very important to run the inside groove, and right down there on that white curb. But if you hit that white curb, bad things can happen.
Oh yeah, for sure. You're going to want to stay as close to that curb as possible without hitting it, of course, because once you hit that, there's a 99.9% chance that your car will just turn sideways. And yeah, because you can actually see that it's higher up of that white curb, so like once you hit it, you're going to spin around, of course. So You want to stay down near that curb, but of course not hitting it, so you can not be freight trained, as we saw from a couple of these drivers earlier.
What I have seen in the past in iRacing, and I don't know about this current tire build, but if you can sometimes get your left front tire on the inside of that curve, it can actually help the car turn, but it's a very fine, delicate balance doing that, and it's kind of a risk versus reward because you might end up doing more damage to your car by hitting that curve. But we'll have to see if any driver employs that technique throughout this race, but the pace truck has come down pit road once again. Green flag back in the air. Bart Hector Jr. as we are now on lap number 8, and there's a huge stack up right behind the number 82 machine. And it looks like TJ Hartman in the number 19 machine got a little bit sideways, and there goes the number 18 machine around, and they're still stacking them up coming out of the corner. The 02 machine has gone around as well. Wade Cohen's in the number 18 going for a spin, and Matthew Disnowski in the 02 also went for a spin as well. Let's see what happened. 18 machine was on the outside groove, and there's a little bit of contact there between the 96 and the 19. That caused a huge stack up, and it might have just been a snowballing effect because there were 3 wide on entry, and there goes the number 18 around. Looks like he had a little bit of contact there with Carl Brandt in the number 6 machine, and unfortunately for Wade Cohen's, he will lose a lot of track position in that, qualified in 9th, and now he will have to restart shotgun on the field, but they were 3 wide on entry into the corner, and Nicholas, that just won't work.
No, of course not. And race control has told these drivers to line up single file for the next restart, so we don't have another caution that early again, is what they're hoping. So we're gonna see what's gonna happen here. They're like, all right, that's enough of double file already. We're going single file.
Of course, that is something you see at a lot of short tracks throughout the United States. Is if things get a little bit too racy, just line them up single file so we can get some green flag actions, because we know you in the chat, you watching, whether you're watching live or on video on demand, well, you want to see some green flag action. I do too, and I'm sure, Nicholas, you do as well. So hopefully we get a little bit more green flag action here coming up with these single file restarts. But you see a couple of drivers towards the back trying to warm their tires, including the number 84 of Matt Hackathorn. We'll have to keep an eye on the pace truck because those lights are still on here. But currently 19 cars on the lead lap, and no one receiving any damage from those early spins. Luckily, just some cars looping it around and going back to racing here shortly. No one's had to come down pit road and get any damage repaired or anything like that, so that's probably good news for the drivers. I know Wade Cohen's not too happy that he lost all that track position, but pace truck lights are off here. Nicholas, we're about to go green.
Yep, for sure, as we're coming around almost to the stripe to get the green flag. And I will want to point out right here very quick that with all these cautions and contact, these guys do have a 24 incident DQ limit. Just wanted to point that out, and we are back at green flag racing here at Oxford Plains Speedway. Now, as I mentioned, these guys did line up single file for this restart, and hopefully that will work for some nice green flag laps. And at the moment, it is working, as these guys are staying single file right now, not trying to make any aggressive moves right now.
Currently, Kyle Matthews in the number 29 machine. He is the biggest mover from the heat race. He's already moved up to the 11th position in that number 29 machine. Maybe he learned something in that heat race that he can transfer over into this main, but I believe caution is out, and the number 4 machine has gone up and over, and that Hellman's number 4 machine, he's trying to turn around in front of the field. He gets back going, and oh, there you go. Ooh, help from the double O machine. Nowhere for the 00 to go of Sean Jones, and it sent the number 4 of Derek Presley flipping in that race car. Let's see, on board, just a little bit too much beans. Got it low down, got hit, and then boom. Just like that, you see the sun. Luckily, he was able to land on his wheels. He didn't lose a lap in that, but a lot of damage on that number 4 machine. We'll have to see whether or not he comes down pit road. There's the initial contact, and sent him flipping there. Unfortunately, Wade Cohen's in the number 18. Looks like Cohen's might have got away without too significant damage. So that's good news for the 18. The double zero's got some front end damage on that car, but the number 4 machine taking the brunt of it, Nicholas.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the number 4 of Derek Presley just not having good luck this race. Involved in a very early caution earlier, and now involved in another early caution here just a couple of laps ago. So that is not so good luck for the number 4 Derek Presley, with a lot of damage, as you said, Peter.
Yeah, and we saw this back at USA, remember, about a month ago when we raced the street stocks there, because there's just so much power in the street stock engines, and their tires are fairly narrow. They're not slicks. They have some grooves to them, so it's just so difficult to get the power down in these race cars without lighting up the rear tires. And, you know, I think that's what we saw there again, a little bit too much beans out of the corner. You have to have a lot of throttle modulation with these race cars to get that power into the racetrack and really get that drive off that you're hoping for. It's really a patience game with these street stocks. You have to be patient getting back to the throttle, and when you do it, you can't just jam the throttle, or else you will either spin the car or end up losing traction and losing time. So we do have the 1 to green. The pace truck lights are off up at the front of the field. Bart Hector Jr. has liked what he's seen in this race so far, because he has only seen the rear bumper of the pace truck. Number 82 so far leading every lap here as the green flag is back in the air. Bart Hector Jr. will lead us into turn number 1. Chris Belanca in the number 42 machine. After that huge scuffle between the number 19 and we have a wreck in turn number 1. And that's the 02 machine, I do believe. Matthew Desnoski going off the racetrack. And oh, the 99 of Chris Torres also having an issue. And look at the number 29 dive down to the inside. He saw a hole. He tried to stick it in there. Kyle Matthews down there. Look at the 99 of Chris Torres making some evasive maneuvers. I'll have to see if we can go on board with Chris Torres here in that race car. You see the 29 just stuck his nose in there. Desnoski wasn't expecting that late dive. Chris Torres there doing a little bit of rallycross out in the dirt, but luckily they're able to get back going. Doesn't look like there's any significant damage from this one. Just once again, another quick spin here just after going green flag.
Yeah, you said it right there. Chris Torres going rallycrossing, and we've seen that a lot from these guys in the series. Really taking it rallycrossing when they go around, but I don't think that is the proper series. Here, I think these guys have to be staying on the oval, of course. Hopefully, we can stick with some green flag laps. We saw this not too many races ago, quite a few races ago, though. I believe it was these cars at a South Boston, if I do believe. And we saw a lot of yellow flag laps. Hopefully, it won't be a repeat of that for the remainder of these laps, but we'll see what these guys can do. Hopefully, these guys will stick with green flag racing and, of course, stay clean and green, as I like to say, Peter.
Absolutely. There you see the race summary down there. Working caution number 4, Huffines. Garrett Huffines has the fastest lap with a 16.459, but the average pace under green flag has been a 16.571. So, you know, that's some pretty quick pace. If it's 16.571, that is, of course, your leader's pace, Bart Hector Jr.'s average pace. So, you know, hopefully we can get that green flag racing in. Bart Hector Jr. does have the highest I rating in the field at 6,363. That's pretty high, folks. Bart Hector Jr. definitely showing he has some muscle here in the iRacing simulator. We have Gumwiz saying hello from Berlin. How's it going, Gumwiz? Hope all is well for you. And hopefully you're enjoying this 3-wide TV broadcast. Oxford Plains with the street stocks for the South Sound Speedway eRacing Series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer in Olympia, Washington. Up at the front, the pace truck is going to dive back onto pit road, race back in the hands of Bart Hector Jr., who's going to scoot away once again up through the gears, and that number 82 machine leads it down all the way down to that white curb in turn number 1 and 2. Hopefully we can get a green flag lap in here as Bart Hector Jr. still just managing that lead over the 42 of Chris Belanke. You can see just how tight of a field this is, Nicholas. These drivers very, very close in qualifying, and once again here in the race, here in the early run, no one really getting away from one another.
Yeah, for sure. These guys, as you said, it's a tight field here, and I do want to point out that as we were talking about these guys who may hit the curb, thankfully the 81 saved it, but he did. The number 81 of Casey Tillman did hit the big white curb and almost went spinning, but got out of it, which is great. And yeah, these guys have made a green flag lap, so that is perfect to see here. Hopefully it can stay that way. I'm seeing a little bit of side-by-side action with the 96 and the 81, as the 96 is on the outside.
Yeah, and TJ Hartman
here.
Yeah, TJ Hartman and the number 19 machine, sorry to cut you off, but that number 19 machine, he's back up to the second position, made the move on Chris Belanke in the number 42, just took it underneath and got the drove out of turn number 4. And getting the power down here, folks, is so, so important. Getting that drive up off the corner is about the only way to pass here at this racetrack, because you're always turning around Oxford Plains. It's always a left turn. It's only 3/8 of a mile, and you just have to get underneath someone on entry into the corner, and to do so, you have to get that drive up off. Here we go, a little bit further back in the pack. Some action back here. There's the number 13 of Greg Rentz, who we drive on board with. It looks like he's going to open up the bottom of the racetrack for Kyle Matthews. And oh, the Disnoski contact and more contact with the number 4 machine. And the 4 and the 13, Greg Rentz there, able to get things back going, as was Derek Presley. And boy, oh boy, that was almost a caution, but luckily we are able to stay green. Oh man, that's some pretty heavy contact in the side of the number 13 there, driven by Greg Rentz. Luckily, he's able to keep going. We stay green. Bart Hector Jr. and the number 82 still leads over TJ Hartman and Chris Belanke. Those 3 cars you could throw a blanket over, because they are nose to tail around this racetrack. It's a little bit of a gap back to your 4th place machine of Dylan Huffines, and Garrett Huffines, his brother, in the number 20 machine, is a couple of car lengths back from him, and then a bigger gap back to the 6th place number 6 machine of Carl Brandt, who is doing battle with the number 84 of Matt Hackathorn. I've been watching Matt Hackathorn. He's started in the 7th position. Started in the 8th position. He's now up to the 7th position. And that number 84 machine, he's been keeping it right down there on that white curb. And Nicholas, we've highlighted that right down there at that white curb, there's a lot of grip at that portion of the racetrack.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely a lot of grip. And like I said earlier, you don't want to hit it too much to where you're going to go spinning. But I would like to point out that the leaders are now coming up on a little bit of lap traffic. The number 13 of Greg Rentz and the number 4 of Derek Presley. They are now tracking down here. Hopefully they will get out of their way. We have your leader, Bart Hector Jr., who's gonna lap our own Greg Rentz here in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle car.
And I'll tell you what, Nicholas, those two are pretty good buddies, Bart Hector Jr. and Greg Rentz. So I don't think Greg Rentz would put up too much of a fight, and he didn't. Just kind of rolled over and let your leaders through. We have had a change in position. Matt Hackathorn has taken the number 84 machine up to 6th, so he's gained 2 positions in this race. Your biggest mover so far has been Eric Johnson Jr. in the number 14 machine. So we have some side-by-side action between the number 81 Casey Tillman and Carl Brandt. Brandt's going to lose another position. He was in 6th spot a couple laps ago, and he's lost another one, so a 2-for-1 there, as both Casey Tillman and Kenneth Garber were able to take that spot from Carl Brandt. So Brandt's going to slide back now to around the 9th position and battle for the lead. New race leader, just like that, TJ Hartman. We look away for just a brief second, and the number 19 machine, trying to get 3 wins in a row here, gets underneath the 82 machine. And he's going to take the race lead just like that as we close in on the halfway mark in this 100-lap feature race of the iRacing South Sound Speedway eRacing Series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. And gotta say, Nicholas, I've been so impressed with TJ Hartman and that number 19 machine, getting the win last week on the Roval with the Legends machine, getting the win the week before at Phoenix with the super late models. definitely showing he's very, very fast in different types of machinery.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now we are here with street stocks at Oxford Plains. TJ Hartman trying to make it 3 in a row here on the South Sound Speedway eRacing series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computers, as he is now passing the number 4 of Derek Presley for lap traffic there. But now TJ Hartman, not much in front of him other than just a couple others, which aren't too far away, but they aren't too close. So he's pretty good for in front of him, and we might have something going on.
Yeah, the
Not
6
really
of Carl
sure.
Brandt has ended up on his lid. Got a little bit of help there with the number 18 machine. Race Control has thrown the caution flag for that. And the number 18 and the 6 were kind of glued together there coming out of turn number 3 and 4. And the 18 down there on the inside might have washed up the racetrack a little bit. The 6 coming down. And I think just 2 race cars going for the same spot on the racetrack as the pace truck's doing a little bit of monster jam out there. Yeah, you can see that just nudge. I think the 18 went in there a little bit deep. The 6 trying to come down the racetrack to kind of pitch the 18 down. And that contact, unfortunately, not working out for the number 6 of Carl Brandt as he ends up on his lid. Here we go, on board from the number 6 machine, and he just dug into this dirt right there. And, oh man, gyro cam just doing its work. Ripped the suspension off of that number 6 machine, so we'll have to see if they can get that car back in the show. Looks like Matt Hackathorn in the number 84 machine. He's coming down pit road here. Kind of surprised to see that. Looks like he's going to get fresh tires as we get one more replay of that accident. Race leader, the number 19, is staying out there on the racetrack. Looks like quite a few cars come down pit road to get 2 tires. I saw Hackathorn's crew only jack up the right side of that race car. We'll have to see whether or not he decides to come back in and get left side tires. One thing about these street stocks, Nicholas, is that they have a very long pit time. It takes a long time for the crew to change tires. Of course, not professional crews by any means. So if you come down pit road and you take 4 fresh tires, you will go down 1 lap.
Oh yeah, and especially here at Oxford Plains, not a very big track. Of course, you will go down a lap as well because of the long tire changing times in these cars. But as you mentioned, your leader, TJ Hartman, staying out. I'm sure he, of course, wants to stay in the lead. So we're going to see what he can do here while some of these guys have a little bit of fresher tires. But as you mentioned, they will be going a lap down because it does take a while for these tires to change in these cars.
Yeah, Matt Hackathorn in the number 84 machine. He came down pit road, and he might go a lap down here. That was very, very close. Looks like he's going to get the benefit of the doubt here and stay on the lead lap. He took right side tires first time he came down pit road. Second time he came down pit road, he took left side tires. So 4 fresh tires on that number 84 machine. So he's on a slightly different strategy than the remainder of the field. But the pace truck is going to come down pit road here. Race is in the hands of TJ Hartman. And Hartman in that number 19 machine will get into turn number 1 first. Seems like that the leader controlling these restarts has been dominant here today for at least the first couple laps. We got some side-by-side action. Looks like the number 29 machine, Kyle Matthews and Matthew Disnowski both racing each other. Disnowski's got himself into the top 10. Kyle Matthews in the number 29 just gonna fall outside the top 10 at least for now. And I'll tell you what, Nicholas, one driver I was keeping an eye on there, Kenneth Garber in the number 96 machine. He was on a move there before that caution flag came out. He'd gotten around Matt Hackathorn. We'll have to see what he can do now that he's a little bit closer to the number 20 machine. But as I say that, he gets up on that white curb that we mentioned and lost a little bit of ground to the number 20.
Oh yeah, and he's still hitting that curb just a little bit. I thought for sure, honestly, that he was going to go around that first time he hit the curb because he was on it for a little bit. But yes, did lose a little bit of ground from Garrett Huffines. But now trying to recover from that, coming back up. And not much more to see up here, as it's just a nice single file, clean and green racing.
Eric Johnson in the number 14 machine right behind Kenneth Garber, biggest mover in the field. We do have Eric Johnson Sr. in the chat saying that was a nice green flag run. We want some more of that. Yes, we do. Let's see if we can run caution free here for the remaining 41 laps at Oxford Plains. There's the number 20 machine driven by Garrett Huffines, working his way through turn number 3 and 4, now onto the front stretch, now onto 1 and 2. These laps kick off really fast here at Oxford Plains, and like I said, not really a straightaway around this racetrack. You're always turning, you're always leaning on the right front tire. You really don't have the time to settle the car and settle the geometry of the suspension. You're always leaning on that right-hand side. So at this racetrack specifically, right-hand tires are so important. That's why we saw drivers like Matt Hackathorn come down and get them. The bad news for Hackathorn, though, is he's mired well back in the pack, doesn't have the track position. There he is. He's clicking off fast lap times right now in that number 84 machine. On the fresh tires, car around on the front stretch is Casey Tillman and the number 43 of Andy Johnson, who have gone around. Looks like that number 81 machine, I said just a lap ago that maybe we could go caution free. Sorry, folks, I jinxed it. But there you see the 43 and the 81 getting together coming out of turn number 4. Oof, Tillman backed it into the wall there just a little bit. Hopefully not too much damage on the Northwest Power number 81 machine. And oh man, a little bit of a stack up there. Chris Torres in the number 99 machine also just kind of checking up a little bit. So that's definitely a tough break for those cars. Here we go, the 43 got down on that curve. Ooh, man, looks like Wisnowski got down on the curve. It might have been just an accordion effect there, Nicholas. Just kind of a couple of drivers stacking it up. And, you know, unfortunately, Tillman and the 43 getting the bad end of the stick.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, we're going to see this replay again even closer. And I was watching this as it was happening. And Peter, I mean, I told you this last week. I got to take you out on this again. Commentator's curse. Like, just a lap or so before this happened, you were hoping for you said probably some green flag laps. So the commentator's curse, that's what you're really good at.
Yeah, well, you know. There's your lucky dog, Greg Rentz in the number 13 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles machine, getting his way back up onto the lead lap in that car. Great looking paint scheme on that Pontiac Trans Am body. Hey, let's see if we can dial him up here. Greg Rentz, Peter Short, 3 wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like you're back on the lead lap in that number 13 machine. You got a lot of fast cars in front of you. I think you're back on the lead lap. We'll have to see if live timing and scoring updates you. But how's that track feel right now?
It's very slick out here, Peter. We had a long green flag run there for about 25 laps, and what happened was I got drilled from behind on the green, so I kind of lost touch with the pack and went a lap down before that. Then I screwed up pit road entry, but hopefully we can get this thing going back the right direction.
Yeah, unfortunately, it does look like you're still 1 lap down in that number 13 machine, and the pace truck lights are off, so we'll let you get back to it. Best of luck here, Greg.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, that is our in-race analyst, Greg Rentz. It's his birthday, so wish him a happy birthday in the chat, but the pace truck lights are off, as I mentioned, and he will get back to racing here shortly because green flag is in the flagman's hand, and TJ will try and get us back to green flag here. That number 19 machine will lead us off into turn number 1. We've had a car grenade its motor. The number 18 machine of Wade Cohen's is smoking. There he is. Not quite sure if that's been related to some of the contact earlier or not, but that's a tough break for that number 18 machine. But up at the front, the number 19 of TJ Hartman still leads. We're going to stay green here. No oil laid down on the racetrack. He was able to get it down onto the apron fast enough. Here we go, on board with the number 18, just boom. Just like that, folks. And I think he might have hit that curb a little bit too hard. Not 100% sure what grenaded that motor. But unfortunately for Wade Cohen, looks like his race will go no further. TJ Hartman still holding the lead over the 82 of Bart Hector Jr., your pole sitter in that car. Just trying to close in on your race leader as these laps tick away. Now, just 30 laps to go. Under 30 laps to go. 29 to go, excuse me. And Nicholas, I keep watching this battle now between Kyle Matthews. Remember, he was one of the drivers in the heat race earlier. He's trying to get around Eric Johnson Jr. to get into the top 6.
Oh yeah, for sure. We do see Kyle Matthews looking to make some kind of move on Eric Johnson Jr. as he does go wide a little bit, but comes back down to disallow Kyle Matthews from being able to pass him. And I'm sure Eric Johnson Jr. does want to let Kyle Matthews know that he has done this on Xbox, as you can see on the rear end of Eric Johnson Jr.'s car, taking a look at it. But definitely going to keep my eye on this one because this is a very close battle for 6th.
And we have a pretty close battle for the race lead as well. Bart Hector Jr. not allowing that number 19 of TJ Hartman to go anywhere. Hector Jr., remember, fastest in qualifying, like I said, was on the pole for tonight's round of the South Sound Speedway eRacing Series brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. But so far, not able to get back around that number 19 machine. Looks like Hartman struggling with that inside curve a little bit. I've seen him kind of give it a little nudge once or twice here. It's upset the rear end of that number 19 machine, but look at that. Looks like he's finally got into his groove. And this is a rhythm racetrack, folks. You hear it of certain racetracks. Oh, this racetrack is a rhythm racetrack, yada, yada, yada. And usually what that means is you're clicking off laps so fast. You just have to find your groove. You have to basically go by muscle memory. And once you get that muscle memory, you can just click off laps, hit your marks lap after lap. And we have a caution. Ooh, the 0-2 of Disanoski there looks like he's gone around right in front of your race leader. And I'm sure that's not what the 19 wanted to see because he had just found that groove that I was talking about. Let's see what happened here to the 0-2 of Disanoski on the outside of the number 43 machine here. Going off into the corner, a little bit of a nudge there from the number 43 machine. And oh my goodness, hit that giant mound of dirt right there at the light poles and doing a little bit of monster jamming. Give him a 10 out of 10 for the landing as well. That was the number 43 of Andy Johnson on the inside. Hopefully no significant damage to the 0-2 of Disnoski. But we'll have to see whether or not he's going to get it back to pit road or not. Yeah, just a little bit of contact, Nicholas.
Yeah, for sure. And I like to point out how you're mentioning all these different racing related things with Monster Jam, Rally Crossing. These guys need to focus on actual oval racing and not go flipping through the air after some contact with a mound of dirt. But of course, that's going to happen here. That mound of dirt can give you some serious airtime. But coming up, just 19 laps to go under caution. Actually, coming up on 18 laps to go. Or, no, coming up on 19 laps to go, excuse me. And it's going to be over soon. Hopefully, these guys can close it out with some clean and green laps, Peter.
I'll tell you what's interesting here. Matt Hackathorn in the number 84 machine. Remember, he pitted right at the halfway mark. He has really been unable to get his way back close to the top 5. Remember, he was around the 7th position when he decided to come down 4 tires. Now, the good news is he's going to be restarting in the 10th spot when we go back to green flag here. The bad news, though, is we're probably only going to be restarting with about 15 or 16 laps to go. So Hackathorn's number 84 machine, fresh tires. So hopefully he can make some passes here and make it interesting here in the closing laps. But we'll have to see whether or not that was a good call or not to take tires at the halfway distance. The man who doesn't want to see any caution laps here in the closing laps, TJ Hartman in the number 19 machine, and probably Bart Hector Jr. Hector Jr. has been fast and probably wants another shot at your race leader, that number 19 right now. And the pace truck lights have turned off, so we'll go green here in a lap. What about Chris Belanca? Haven't really talked about Belanca in that number 42 machine. Got the win in the first race back at Lanier. And that number 42 putting together another solid run here tonight. And Garrett Huffines in 4th. And what about Kyle Matthews now in the top 5? He was in the heat race earlier. That's the green flag back in the air. And I'll tell you what, Nicholas, TJ Hartman must have timed that one a little bit differently because he caught Bart Hector Jr. sleeping.
Oh, yeah, for sure. As he's now coming up, and going to take a look once again at Kyle Matthews, who, as you said, started in the heat race. So obviously started out near the back of the field and now all the way up in top 5. But as you mentioned earlier, TJ Hartman hoping this race to stay green, as he is in the lead, trying to make it 3 in a row here on the iRacing South Sound Speedway eRacing series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computers, as we are coming up on just 10 laps to go in a little bit.
I'll tell you what, Nicholas, this is some great racing from the 7th position on back, currently held by Jeff Peterson in that number 23 machine, cutting across the nose of Dylan Huffines. And here comes Huffines, going to send it down the inside of that number 23 machine, and Huffines will take the 7th position from Peterson. And here comes Matt Hackathorn in the number 84 machine. Remember, I said he has fresher tires than most of the cars around him. He's going to take that spot. So move Hackathorn up to 8th, Huffines into 7th. And oh, the number 23 machine, he's going to save it, folks. How about that? As looks like the caution flag was thrown a little bit prematurely there, but we're going to have to re-rack him here. Look at the number 23 machine and Casey Tillman there in the 81. Man, that one's hard to call. We'll have to see if we can see that one maybe from a helicopter cam or the blimp cam high atop Oxford Plains, because I'm not 100% sure the 23 knew the 81 was down there. And ooh, man, that's a tight one there. I don't think the spotter would have given the number 23 the car low call. That is just a racing deal here on the short track of Oxford Plains. And Nicholas, it's gonna give us a shootout for the finish.
Oh yeah, for sure, and I believe we now still have a couple of laps to go until green. Pace truck lights are still on, but as you mentioned, we are gonna have just about a shootout here, as we are currently on lap 91 under the pace lap. Hopefully the pace truck lights will go off. I think they might for 1 to go. We're gonna see here in just a second. Nope, they stay on, so hopefully next time by it's going to be 1 to go.
Yeah, Matthew Disnowski in the 02 machine will receive the lucky dog. He will be back on the lead lap. Our own Greg Renz is also back on the lead lap in that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles machine, so we'll have 15 cars on the lead lap when we go back to green flag action here shortly. And why don't we kind of run down the field for you. TJ Hartman is, of course, your race leader in that number 19 machine, has led most of the night. Second place, your pole sitter, Bart Hector Jr., Chris Belanca in the number 42, winner at Lanier earlier this season. He's in third. Garrett Huffines in the number 20. He is winning the Huffines battle right now between himself and his brother in the 4th position. Kyle Matthews in 5th. Eric Johnson Jr., biggest mover of the race, was the biggest mover of the race. Now that is held by Kyle Matthews in front of him. Dylan Huffines in the 7 machine in 7th position. I mentioned that last week, that is a very common occurrence. Not quite sure why that happens a lot, but it does seem to happen a lot. Matt Hackthorne, freshest tires in the field. He's in 8th. That's where he qualified. Casey Tillman in 9th behind him. Then the 99 of Chris Torres, who's had a lot of action here today. Some of it on the track, some of it off the track, out in the dirt. Andy Johnson in 11th. Jeff Peterson 12th. He was involved in that accident. Kenneth Garver had a lot of pace earlier, but unfortunately that 96 hasn't been able to get back up to the front end. B.J. Tidrick, a.k.a. Greg Rance, and Matthew Disnowski round out the 15 cars on the lead lap as the pace truck has headed down pit road. TJ Hartman, once again, gets a pretty good restart here, but Nicholas not quite able to get the jump he had last time. Good news, though, for that number 19 is it's about a car length and a half.
Yeah, as you mentioned, just about a car length and a half. Yeah, just about. As we're now coming up on 5 laps to go, and now we got to remember that this is a short track here at Oxford Plains, so this will go by quickly. So TJ Hartman now just hoping he will stay onto this lead and it will stay green is what he's hoping for, as we're now 4 laps to go here at Oxford Plains.
Contact there between the 84 of Matt Hackathorn and the 14 of Eric Johnson Jr. Hackathorn saw an opening and sent it in underneath Matt Hackathorn, and there was contact there. And unfortunately for Hackathorn, he's going to go around and hit that mound of dirt. Hopefully not a lot of damage on that number 84 machine. We'll have to see how that all works out. Now it's going to be the interesting thing, folks, of possibly green-white checker or not. We'll have to see how it all works out. But that number 84 machine definitely going around. He's going to lose a lot of track position. That's a tough break for Matt Hackathorn. He's going to go all the way back to 15th. There you see it. Looked like he was down there and holding his line as close as he could to that white line. And the number 14 of Eric Johnson might have come down a little bit as they made contact. Unfortunately, that man right there getting the bad end of that stick, as we will have our one and only attempt at a green-white checker here. And TJ Hartman up at the front trying to go 3 wins in a row in this series. Got to give a shout out. We have Samantha Wood rooting on the number 42 of Chris Belanca in the chat, as well as Utah's rooting on the commentators. I like that. I like rooting on the commentators. We're a good group of people, and we like a little bit of support here and then. But it's going to be a great run to the finish here. And I'll tell you what, if TJ Hartman can time his restart again, Nicholas, I think he might have this one in the bag. But it is a short track, and you know what happens at short tracks. Rubbin's racing. Could we see a little bit of a bump to pass?
We'll see, and I'm sure TJ Hartman's hoping that's not going to be a thing. He's hoping to stay up there for the last couple of laps in this one and only green and white checkered, as you mentioned, Peter. And this is the part where I apologize to you for having commentators curse earlier, because I actually just did some commentators curse before this caution came out. So now it's even, I guess. But anyways, hoping to go green here in a little bit. The pace truck lights are still on. I'm maybe thinking about the lap after this, they're going to have 1 to green, but we'll see. We're gonna see right here as the pace truck crosses the line. Oh, pace truck lights are off. We have 1 to green.
Absolutely, and of course, Derek Presley in the number 4 machine, he was the lucky dog. And it looks like Derek Presley will be the 16th car on the lead lap. We'll have to see whether or not he can get some luck and finish a little bit higher up. It's been an interesting race for that number 4 machine. But of course, all eyes will be on the battle for who will win this race. TJ Hartman on the loud pedal early. Pace truck was barely on pit road. TJ Hartman getting the jump off into turn number 1. Bart Hector Jr. got Chris Belanca all over his back bumper. Garrett Huffines in 4th. Kyle Matthews a little bit further back in 5th. What will Bart Hector Jr. do? Will he send it off into turn number 1 and 2 and give a little bit of a nudge to the back of that number 19 machine? He's trying, folks. He's trying to do all he can as the white flag is out here. No cautions from here to the end. It's only the checkered flag in the flagman's hand, and the checkered flag flies for the number 19 TJ Hartman, going 3 wins in a row in the iRacing South Sound Speedway eRacing Series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. And Nicholas, Bart Hector Jr. did all he could to try and get to the back bumper of that number 19 machine, just not able to do so.
Yeah, Bart Hector Jr. was trying. He got to the bumper, giving him a little bit of a nudge. As we see the number 19 of TJ Hartman, your race winner, 3 in a row, celebrating a little bit, hitting the 0-2 of Matthew Desnoski, spinning him around, having some fun in his celebration. Oh, you love to see that. Great job to your race winner, TJ Hartman, Peter.
And I gotta say, TJ Hartman, he's won in 3 different cars now in the past 3 races. He won in the super late models, he's won in the legends, and now he has won in the street stock. So very, very impressive. There is, oh, I think that's the number 14 of Eric Johnson doing some flipping there, I do believe. Eric Johnson Jr. Of course, we had Eric Johnson Jr., Senior, in the chat with that number 14 Key Properties Services Inc. machine. Yeah, there you go. Some more monster jamming occurring. It was kind of the word of the night. Monster jamming, rally crossing, all of that good stuff. But let's see if we can dial up tonight's finishing order, because I'll tell you what, it was a pretty interesting race. Lots of caution flags, but a great finish in the end for TJ Hartman, winning his 3rd consecutive race here in the iRacing South Sound Speedway eRacing Series, brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer. Bart Hector Jr. coming the runner-up position in that number 82 machine, started on the pole, lost the lead there around lap number 38, and it was all TJ Hartman from there. Chris Belanca, winner of the first race of the season, finishing on the podium once again. Garrett Huffines wins the battle of the Huffines here tonight in the number 20, finishing 4th. Kyle Matthews, we mentioned this a little while ago, he finished 2nd in the heat race that we had earlier, and he finishes 5th in the feature race, so a lot of positions gained for that number 29 machine. Dylan Huffines coming home in 6th. Eric Johnson Jr. in the number 14 machine, finishing in 7th. Casey Tillman in 8th. Andy Johnson and Kenneth Garber round out your top 10, Nicholas.
Finishing 11th is going to be the number 23 of Jeff Peterson, who was involved in just a couple of wrecks early on, and finishing in the 12th position is the 02 of Matthew Disnoski. Finishing 13th is the number 84 of Matt Hackthorne. And in 14th is the number 13 of BJ Tidrick, aka Greg Rentz. Finishing 15th is the 4 of Derek Presley, who didn't see the greatest luck this race, but did finish on the lead lap. And finishing 16th, the last car on the lead lap, the number 99 of Chris Torres. And finishing 17th is the 00 of Sean Jones. And finishing 18th, number 6 of Carl Brandt. And rounding out the 19 car field, finishing 36 laps behind, the number 18 of Wade Cohens.
Yeah, Carl Brandt definitely gets 10 out of 10 for the half flip. Unfortunately, though, that did put him 5 laps down. Well, folks, hopefully you enjoyed tonight's broadcast here on 3Y TV. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, because next week, same place, same time, we got super late models at South Boston, 110 lap race, another very tight racing circuit. And with all the horsepower that the super late models bring to the racetrack, it will be a spectacular show, Nicholas. I'm very much looking forward to it. But I think that will just about do it here tonight. For all of us here at 3Y TV, want to give each and every one of you a good night, wherever you may be in the world. And hopefully you join us next week for more iRacing South Sound Speedway eRacing series brought to you by 93rd Avenue Computer Action. See ya!